Why is this planet, so obviously perfect, making scientists more and more uneasy? It has plenty of sunlight, the right temperature, and possibly even liquid water. It checks nearly every box we have for a second Earth. Yet the more we study it, the more something feels off. Its size exceeds the upper limit for rocky planets, but it's not puffed up like a gas giant. It sits right in the middle of the habitable zone, yet it has no moons and no known companion planets. Every single detail feels like it was deliberately designed. Not a coincidence, not an exception, more like the universe after countless rounds of fine-tuning. As if it wasn't naturally formed, but engineered. This is Kepler-22b, a planet that shouldn't even exist, yet it's become the most closely watched world in astronomy. Today, we're not just going to list its stats. We're going to tear apart everything that's wrong with it and see what secrets it's really hiding. Let's start with how Kepler-22b was discovered. The discovery of Kepler-22b came out of a massive astronomical gamble back in 2009. NASA launched the Kepler Space Telescope. It didn't take pretty pictures. It just stared at 150,000 stars in the Milky Way, waiting for tiny dips in their brightness. Why? Because when a planet passes in front of its star, it blocks a little bit of light. This method is called the transit method. Sounds simple. In practice, it's absolutely brutal. Imagine lighting a candle 60 miles away and staring at it from the bottom of a hill, waiting for a mosquito to fly in front of it. That's the kind of signal Kepler was looking for. Just a 0.01% drop in brightness. And it had to see the exact same pattern 3 times before anyone would call it a real planet. Even harder, most exoplanets' orbits aren't aligned with our line of sight. They never pass in front of their star from our perspective, so Kepler could only catch the tiny fraction that do. Kepler-22b was the miracle that got caught in that insanely narrow window. It orbits a sun-like star called Kepler-22. The telescope saw the star's brightness dip slightly every 290 days. The dip was always 0.01%, like clockwork. Something was grazing past the star on a perfect schedule. After 3 transits, scientists knew they might have a planet. But transit data alone isn't enough. They spent 2.5 years using ground and space-based telescopes to rule out every possible error. They eliminated binary star interference, false positives, everything. In 2011, NASA officially confirmed Kepler-22b. It was the first confirmed exoplanet around a sun-like star sitting squarely in the habitable zone. This wasn't just finding another planet, it was confirming another world that could potentially host life. From that moment, the search for life entered a whole new era. Kepler-22b is 600 light-years away, orbiting a star very similar to our Sun, a G-type main sequence star. One orbit takes just 290 days. Its distance from the star is 0.85 AU, smack in the sweet spot of the habitable zone. If it has an Earth-like atmosphere, surface temperatures could average around 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius, literally perfect spring weather for humans. It sounds too good to be true, and the more perfect it looks, the weirder it gets. The planet is 2.4 times larger than Earth by diameter. Its density is still unknown. Too big to be a rocky world, too small to be a gas giant. It falls right into the so-called Fulton Gap, a size range where theory says planets basically shouldn't exist. Our own solar system has nothing like it. If you had to compare it to something, imagine a 7-foot 10-inch gorilla with muscles that don't match any known primate anatomy. You wouldn't know what category to put it in. And here's the really bizarre part. Its orbit is almost perfectly circular. No eccentricity, no visible perturbations, as if someone calculated the ideal orbit and placed it there on purpose. No moon, no companion planets, nothing else orbiting the same star. The whole system is unnaturally clean. When scientists look at its light curve, it doesn't even look like a real planet, more like a textbook example running inside a cosmic simulator. Sometimes, Too perfect stops looking natural. Because we have no idea what it's actually made of, it's become the hardest planet to classify. It could be a rocky super-Earth, a mini gas giant, an ocean world, or something we don't even have a name for yet. A completely new type. So what is it really? Scientists have 4 main hypotheses. Each one tries to solve the puzzle, but none of them quite fit perfectly. First possibility, a rocky super-Earth wrapped in a thick atmosphere. That's theoretically possible, but the thicker the atmosphere, the hotter it gets. If it went runaway like Venus, the surface would be a permanent pressure cooker. If the atmosphere isn't thick enough, you can't explain the size. Models get stuck right on the edge, never too hot, never too cold. Like an invisible hand tuned it to 99%, but refuses to hit 100%. Second possibility, a global ocean world, covered in hundreds of miles of water. Sounds beautiful, but without continents and without plate tectonics, there's no nutrient cycling. Even if microbes exist, they'd stay primitive forever. No complex biosphere possible. A gorgeous blue planet that might just be dead water. Third possibility, a mini-Neptune. Not rocky at all, just a smaller gas planet. But it's way too close to its star for that kind of planet. Fourth hypothesis, a hybrid layered world. Rocky core, thick water mantle, atmosphere on top. Simulations say it's possible in theory, but the formation path is insanely complicated. It would require ridiculously precise initial conditions that almost never happen in real models. Every theory circles back to the same problem. Every model feels forced. So maybe the models are wrong. Scientists don't want to admit that. Their first reaction was to doubt the data. They rechecked instruments, spectra, orbits, ruled out noise, false positives, every trick in the book. The conclusion was always the same. It's real. Some suggested it once had companions that got destroyed in a catastrophe. But the system is too clean. No debris, no scars, no evidence of past violence. It looks like a brand new, spotless lab. So here's the real question. Why does it exist at all? Why is every single parameter dialed in to the absolute best value? This planet breaks every classification system we built from our own solar system. It doesn't look like any planet we know, yet it has every ingredient for habitability. Its existence forces us to admit that maybe our rules are the exception, not the rule. And the creepiest part? It hits every mark exactly. 2.4 times Earth radius, right on the edge of the Fulton Gap. Perfectly circular orbit. 290-day year, almost Earth-like. Equilibrium temperature with atmosphere equals perfect 72 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 just right could be coincidence. 2 is lucky. 5 or 6, that starts to look suspicious. Of course, we're not saying it was artificially created, but when a planet looks this engineered, you have to at least ask the question. Maybe it wasn't meant for us to live on. Maybe it's an invitation, a reminder, or a specimen in someone else's experiment. It probably won't give us answers, but it forces us to ask new questions. If the universe really left us a perfect sample planet, what is it trying to tell us? Or, to ask the really uncomfortable question, if a planet can look this manufactured, what does that say about the one we're standing on right now? And about us?